Hello, everybody. Get started in just a second. Feel free to start dropping your questions in the Q&A box. Let's see. Hi, Jim. All right. Getting myself settled this morning. I was all set up in my other room where my office is, and not one but two of my neighbors decided it was a really great morning to start cutting down trees and using chainsaws right out the window. So I had to do a last-minute move. Let's see. Happy Friday, Sonia. Hi, Deb. Hi, Jules. Let's see. All right. Yep, starting to get questions in. Hi, Victoria. And again, just drop your questions in the Q&A. We're going to get started in just a minute. Terry, I see you raising your hand, but you can just drop either a chat in the chat box or a question right in the Q&A. All right, we're rocking and rolling on Facebook, and we've got a lot going on. Good morning, Terry. All right. So last week, I asked you guys who you would like to see come on Free Advice Friday. And since then, I've been really busy and Amy's been helping me out. We have lots of guests lined up and a lot of people who are willing to talk to us. So we have an author who is very successful on Amazon and Kindle. She has quit her day job and is now a full-time author, and she even had one of her books turned into a Hallmark Christmas movie. Her name is Barb Hinsky. She's coming on August 21st, I believe. We also have a very well-known author podcaster who has agreed to do a session with us. Now, he can't do it live, so what we have agreed to do is to pre-record a session for some future date. But if you guys have questions for Tom, I'll tell you more about him, but if you have questions for Tom in podcasting and how authors can use podcasting or the best way to pitch for podcasting, send them in by email. It's questions@freeadvicefriday.com. Since we have to pre-record, we can't do it live, which means we need your questions to be emailed in. So podcaster questions, questions at freeadvicefridays with an s.com. And then we also have, let me check. We also are working on a nonfiction specialist. So I think we're going to get her on as well. Still working on the bookstore one, but I think we can probably find somebody who is willing to chat with us. And we have the amazing, on August 14th, we have the amazing Annalisa Parent. She helps writers to finish and publish and sell their novels. She owns and operates Date with the Muse, which helps storytellers to publish traditionally at the highest level possible. And she is just amazing. So we are going to be having her on the show on the 14th. That will be a live one. But again, questions, if you've got them, email them in at questions@freeadvicefridays.com. So in between, you'll just get me. I'm sorry, not as exciting, but we are very, very excited for all of the guests that we have coming up. All right, you guys, I'm going to go silent for just a minute, and then we're going to go live for this week. All right, my name is Keri. I'm the Executive Director for New Shelves Books, and we are here today for Free Advice Fridays. It is Friday, July 31st, 2020, and we are excited to get started. All right, let's see. One of the first questions we have is from Jules. Do you have any experience with virtual summits? I'm planning to create one in my genre, legal thriller virtual summit. It is supposed to be good for contacting colleagues as well as getting more people on one's email list and marketing your books while helping others market theirs. Do you think this is a good idea or not? Jules, I love summits, and I think a virtual summit right now is a really good idea. It is a lot of work. We've got Tara over here saying it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It can be very rewarding, especially if you're trying to kind of make contact with other authors within your genre. My biggest advice on that is to give yourself plenty of time. This is not something you set up now for next month. This is something you set up now for late fall. Give yourself plenty of time. Make sure that you gauge other authors' interest and your speaker interest ahead of time. because you don't want to make promises for a big summit and not actually have people willing to attend or speak. So it can be awesome if you maybe have another author or two that would team up with you and help you do it. That would make it much easier. Not only will they bring their own contacts, but they can also share in some of the workload. So it can be a great way to do it, but plan well, and I hope that you, man, that sounds exciting. I hope that you do well with it. If you decide to go forward, let us know. I'd love to know about that. Yes, Terry's saying minimum 90 days ahead, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, it might even be something that you're planning from early 2021. So give yourself time, and keep in mind that if you're planning anything around the holidays, your interest will just drop. People get busy around the holidays. So if you're doing this anywhere near Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays, it won't go well. All right. Lynn is asking, is there any way I can save or preserve reviews on my Amazon book page? I'm just afraid they might disappear for some reason. Lynn, sometimes reviews do disappear. We know that. There is not any way to keep them on your Amazon page. Once they're removed, they are gone. They cannot be put back up. But what you can do is you can screenshot them. That way you can use them in your own marketing online, on your website. But there's no way to just ensure that they stay on your Amazon page, because that is completely up to Amazon. We have no control over that, unfortunately. I love that. We've got Jane on here saying that she participated in Tara's Publish with Purpose virtual summit, and it was great. So Tara, great job. You're getting lots of good feedback. All right. I have a children's book that I wrote. My artist daughter illustrated. Ooh. One time you mentioned people who can be hard to help format for Amazon, etc. I checked people we like, but I didn't find this. Can you tell me again? Deb, if you are looking for formatting, I would be going to either Amit. Amit is Amit Day. He's got an email address that I can absolutely send you. I believe he's also on the People We Like. You may also look into Medlar Publishing. Sundar might be good for that as well. So you're looking just for formatters, and I would contact them and see if they can help you and how they can help you. All right. We're getting questions right now about libraries and how are things going. Well, libraries, I'm happy to say many libraries are starting to open up, which is good. Even if it's only for curbside pickup or if they are doing limited numbers inside, we are seeing a lot of libraries start to open, which makes us very happy. Yay. And so I think that it's starting to roll back out. I'm hopeful that there are enough precautions in place that if things do begin to shut down again, that we don't have as many problems. So we are starting to see some library interest pick up a little bit more. We're seeing more activity, more responses to mailings and things like that. So it is looking up for libraries. And another question we've got, yep, excuse me. So we have a question coming in about reviews. Now, when you are going to a review house, let's say Kirkus, Book Life, Publishers Weekly, LA Review of Books, all of those places, if you're going for a review, traditionally you would have to print off art copies of your book and send them in 3 to 4 months in advance minimum. However, because of everything that's going on, we are actually now learning that you can send in e-copies of your book. So the question is, I would like to send in review copies of my book, but because Ingram Spark is backed up, I won't get my advanced review copies for about 45 days, which would put me out of the limit. So the good news is, not only can you save on printing, shipping, and all of your kits, you can now send to most review houses online. They have e-submissions where you can send in a PDF or an ebook. Some of them, one or two, like Book Life is an online account that you set up. Yes, Linda, our copies are advanced review copies. Thank you. And so Book Life is an account that you set up and apply right in there. City Book Review has a form, so that's something that you do right online. And then the rest of them mostly are an email address that you send in for. So as you do that, just know that you can do it. You can make it. And not only that, that saves you a lot of time, money. So if you've got a book coming out, let's say it's let's just call it August. If your book is coming out August, September, October. So if your book is coming out October or later, you still have time to submit your book for reviews. You need to hurry. But if your book is coming out after November, then you've got plenty of time to go do some online review and, outreach. Take advantage of this. I don't know if this will be a long-term thing. I don't know if it will last. So make sure that you're taking advantage of the fact that you don't have to print out copies of your book right now, because that adds up. If you're printing out, let's say 25 copies of your book, and it costs, let's just say $4 a book, which would actually be really cheap, but I'm trying to do easy math. So that's $100 right there. Then you have to have the shipping from Ingram Spark to you. Let's add on another 20 bucks. So it's $120. Then you have to pay $4 to mail each of these books out. Well, you're looking at another $100. So now you're at $220. Then you've got to print out your media kit. You've got to get folders and make it look nice. And so suddenly you're up to $350 to pitch your book for reviews. Is it worth it? Yes. If you get a review, it's a huge feat. But if you can do it for free right now, go for it. Get your ebook and get those reviews out there. Right. Do you know of reviews in Canada? Not particularly, Ellen. I would have to look into that, or if you look into it, let us know. Even if you're in Canada, you can still apply to things like Kirkus. You can apply to LA Review of Books. Those are some of the big ones that tend to show up with traditional publishers, and you can absolutely still apply to those. And follow-up question on reviews: if a particular reviewer's website requests hard copies, do you send them an email asking if their policy has been changed due to COVID? You can. However, I looked at them yesterday. I looked at a bunch of review sites, and there were two places that were still asking for physical copies of the book. One was Kirkus is still asking for printed copies to be sent in, and I don't remember the other one off of my head. But out of a list of 15 reviewers that I looked at, only 2 were asking for physical copies. I mean, you can still do it, or you can say, man, I'm just not going to make those. I can't get a printed book soon enough, and move on with that. It's really depending on how much time you have. All right, I am placing a trigger notice on the first page of my novel and in my Amazon.com description that reads, please note this novel contains an incident of a sexual assault. Will Amazon permit me to use sexual assault? If not, just in case, what wording do you suggest? I do not anticipate Amazon having any problem with that. I would put it, if you're doing on your Amazon.com description, I would put it down at the bottom, little asterisk, and then put it right there. But I do not think that Amazon will have any problem with that, Victoria, and I think it's great that you're doing that. Do we have a formal list of reviewer companies on the website? I don't believe we do at the moment, Terry. However, for anyone who wants a review list, if you go, where can I send you? If you go to Free Advice Fridays, the Facebook group, I will post a list of at least 10 reviewers in their website, so you can go check it out. So if you're not yet in the Facebook group, go to either freeadvicefridays.com. There's a button to join our Facebook group, or go right to Facebook and search for us and add yourself. And today I will get a list up for you. And if you haven't, I've got to do our little plug. If you haven't subscribed to our new YouTube channel, please do that as well. That would be fantastic. Again, you can find all of this at freeadvicefridays.com. You can find the link directly to our YouTube, to the Zoom sign up. You can find it to our Facebook group as well. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. All right, let's see what's next. All right. Let me go over to my email, because we had some great questions get sent in. And I'm going to start at the bottom because we had a lot of questions emailed in this week. All right. Someone is saying that a publisher, an indie publisher, keeps calling, has sent a proposal to represent and relaunch my book. Budding romance for late bloomers, women's first marriages over 40, 50, 60, originally self-published. He said there'd be no cost to me. It's a 100% royalty program of which they would receive 15% of sales. They would redo my book, do online advertising, 6 months online publicist, aggressive representation, and free book display at the Frankfurt Book Fair. It sounds like a great deal, Maureen, but I would say look at the reviews, look at what other people are saying, look at the Better Business Bureau. It sounds like a good deal, but I wouldn't know without seeing the contract, and I'm afraid I'm not a lawyer. So I would have a lawyer look at it with you, and I would also look at the reviews for that company. But just the first look at it, it sounds pretty good, unless you're currently selling this book and getting a lot of traction on your own. If you're already making great profits and you've self-published on your own, then consider that as well. All right, let me see. We've got a question for Pat. A few questions. Offset printers, both foreign and domestic. In the past, you have suggested if I were to self-publish a children's picture book with lots of illustrations, that this might be the way to go. Yes, if you are doing a children's picture book or a book with a lot of color, a lot of graphs, anything like that, consider offset printing. Now, offset printing, you got to pony up in the beginning. You have to pay them to start off. You're going to get a lot of books, and you either have to store them, distribute them, pay a distributor to warehouse them. But overall, if you are confident that you can sell bulk books, if you can sell a lot of books, getting the offset print will dramatically decrease the cost of your print books. Overseas is traditionally going to be the cheapest. However, because of everything going on, I would also expect a really, really long wait for anything like that. You can print offset right here in the US. There's lots of great printers. Again, find one that's closest to you and kind of start feeling them out, get their pricing, find out where their pricing actually starts to dip. For most printers, the big price decrease is going around 500, 1,000, and 5,000 copies. So keep that in mind, that when I say selling in bulk, I really do mean in bulk. If we're talking 5,000 copies, you will have to have a distributor who will warehouse your books, and then you will actually have to go out and market and sell those books. If you're confident in that, it can be a great thing to do. Let's see, Randy is asking, are reviews only available in advance, or can a book that was published in May still be submitted for review? There are two places off the top of my head I can think of that you can submit for review after your book is published. The first one is Book Life. Now, keep in mind, you are actually going to go and not pay for a Book Life review. You want to submit for a publisher's weekly review through Book Life. You get a Book Life account, and then you go and submit for your review. They will offer you the paid Book Life review, but that's not what we want you to do. We want you to submit for the free review to Publishers Weekly that just comes through Book Life. It's kind of a one in a couple of 100,000 shot, but if you don't try, then you get nothing, and it's free to submit, so I always do. The other one is Midwest Book Review. Midwest Book Review does accept copies after publication. Traditionally they prefer a print copy be sent in, and I believe that's still how they're doing it, so keep that in mind as well. Oh, this is great, Victoria. So Victoria is saying, before you deal with any company, I suggest you check on them with Writer Beware by Victoria Strauss on sfwa.org. And I'm going to put the, oops, I clicked on the wrong button. Way to go. I'm going to put that right in the chat box here, because that's great. I'm going to check that out too, Victoria, so thank you. Writer Beware at sfwa.org. She's very reliable, Victoria Sportelli tells us, so thank you, thank you. All right, back to email questions. And again, if you have live questions, just drop them in the Q&A and we'll get to them today. All right. And another question, a follow-up question to the offset print was, how do book distributors work and how do they help with self-published authors? So let's talk about this a little bit because I know it can be confusing. When we're talking about books and book distribution, it gets a little kind of crazy with print on demand. So when we are talking about a distributor, that is someone who literally houses your books and they distribute them to a wholesaler. So your distributor would house your books and get them into Baker and Taylor. They would send them to Ingram. They would send them to Brodart. They're distributing your book to the wholesaler. The wholesaler then is where the library, the bookstore, Target, Walmart, Costco, that's where they purchase from. So that's what that is. When you are doing print on demand, you go through Ingram Spark, who is a print on demand printer. They then act as the distributor to Ingram. They take a fee for that. They act as the distributor to Ingram directly, which is a wholesaler, and then we're having bookstores and libraries buy from Ingram. So there is a train there. There's a trail, and that's how a distributor works. So if you have a huge amount or even a small amount of offset print books, typically you would have a distributor work with you and for you who would house your books. They're going to warehouse them and then they're going to distribute them out. How it can help for self-published authors is that distributor probably already has big accounts with Baker and Taylor, Brodart, all of the places outside of Ingram and Ingram as well. So your book is more likely to become available through those other wholesalers. Whereas if you are applying directly to Baker and Taylor yourself, they want proof of sales. They want to know what you're doing for marketing, and they want to know about demand. You're really going to have to prove that to them before they take the chance on you to keep you in their catalog. So it can make it a little bit easier to get in, but keep in mind there's cost involved because they don't do this for free. So a distributor will charge you to warehouse your books, and they do charge you to be your distributor, to push those books out and to get those contacts for you. If you're doing offset print, it's a great option. There are a lot of great distributors out there that we love, depending on where you're located at. But it's a really great option for those who are doing offset print rather than keeping books in your garage or basement and trying to get them out yourself. If you're going to Ingram and you're trying to directly work with them to wholesale, they want to see about $10,000 a month in books being sold. So it's hard to get into these big wholesale accounts if you don't have a distributor or you aren't going the print on demand and using the leverage between Ingram Spark and Ingram. All right, do I recommend selling books directly from an author website using a distributor other than KDP or Ingram Spark? For instance, using Aereo or Vervant Books. Is it more cost effective? Annette, I think offering books on your website is a great idea, whether you're using Aereo, whether you've got author copies sitting in your office and you're just sending them out as you get orders. You can make more money off of it that way, absolutely. And it's great to have your books right there on your website. However, it's important to know that if you are only trying to sell books from your website, if you're trying to have that be the main mode of sales, you probably will not be very successful. People like buying books where they're used to buying books. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart. This is where people like to buy their books. It's where they're comfortable. So will some people buy directly from your website? Absolutely, especially if you're offering book discounts, things like that for certain groups. People will buy direct from your website, but it's just as likely, if not more likely, that they will say, oh, I like this book. I'm gonna go find it on Amazon. I can get it 2-day Prime. It'll be fine. So keep that in mind. And also keep in mind that if you're selling on your website, you are only getting the opportunity for sales of the traffic you pull into your website. So even if you've got an awesome website, you've got a blog that's drawing in 100 people a week, the chances that you're going to get as much traffic as Amazon.com is really, really, really low. So it's important that we realize that as well. I think that if you are using your own website in tandem with other sites like Ingram Spark for Ingram, so you can get into Baker and Taylor, or not Baker and Taylor, I'm sorry, Barnes and Noble, Walmart.com. If you're using KDP for Amazon, and then you also have a store on your website, I think it's a great idea, and you have a lot of opportunity to make more profit that way, especially if you're not the only author. If you are actually acting as a publisher for multiple books, then you have a great opportunity to make a higher profit and more sales that way. But don't make it exclusively that way, is my personal opinion and advice. Let me see here. Whoops. All right. So here is another question. This question came in specifically about libraries, and this person was talking about when doing library books, the question was, is it worth it to go through the hassle of getting a PCIP, of re-uploading, of really getting your book set up for libraries so they will order? Or would it make just as much sense to maybe spend similar costs and just send copies of the book to libraries and donate them? Will a library then catalog them and keep them on their shelves? Doesn't that make sense? So the problem with this is that while it sounds like a good idea, libraries may not buy my book, but that's okay. I just want the exposure. So I'm just going to donate my book to all these libraries. I'll pick 500 and I'll send my book out to all these libraries and just donate them, and then they'll put them on their shelves. I wish it was that easy, but it's not, because usually what happens is when you donate a book and a library does not choose to buy it, those books end up in fundraisers, and they actually get sold for like pennies on the dollar, because libraries often will do these fundraisers where they stuff a grocery bag full of books and sell it for $5. And that's probably where your book will go. It's worth the time of actually pitching to libraries one-on-one. It's worth the time of asking them to invest in your book, because if they invest in your book, chances of it going on their shelves are so much higher. Also, it's worth the time and the money to go get your PCIP block, to get your catalog block, so that it's easy for them to put it on their shelves. Because even if they have a free book, if it doesn't have the right cataloging information and it's not easy for them to put it in their system, they probably won't. Again, getting it shuttled off to the fundraiser pile. So while it seems like it would be a really effective idea to just send out a copy of your book to hundreds of libraries, it's actually not a great idea. So we strongly caution against doing that. Let's see. All right. Follow-up question. Let's see. Okay, how would my book get from an offset printer to a distributor to a warehouse, send out my book? So what happens is, generally when you're doing offset print, you have them send those print copies directly to the distributor that you've already worked out a contract with. So the print copies go directly from the printer to the distributor takes them, puts them in their warehouse, and then when someone orders the book through a wholesaler, the distributor picks and ships them, which is nice because it's hands off for the author, but of course you pay for that. All right. Okay, so we've got questions about what the difference is between a PCIP block and a cataloging block. They are the same thing. A PCIP is a publisher's cataloging in publication block. So I was using those interchangeably. A PCIP is a cataloging block. Sorry if that was confusing. All right. Let's go back to email. Again, if you got questions, drop them in the Q&A. I'm afraid I've been terrible about looking at the chat right now. So if you're putting things into chat, I've missed them. Let me see. I guess I should check that. Sorry, guys. Follow-up questions on PCIP. Is it worth it spending on the PCIP for both ebook and paperback, or is doing PCIP for paperback useful for librarians to catalog your book? Sonia, great question. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you bundle it. We use Donahue Group, and they will bundle your ebook and your paperback. Your paperback PCIP block needs to go into the physical copy of the book. It needs to be printed with the book to make it easy. However, your ebook PCIP doesn't necessarily have to go into the actual file. You can, but it doesn't have to. The PCIP block for ebook is really useful because it gets your book registered in the MARC system, in the Sky River system. It's getting your book registered so that it's easier for librarians to find, track, and use. That is why we love it. And it's also easier for you to track and find out who's carrying your book. Yes, I love this. We've got someone on here saying, as a library volunteer, 100% agree. The donations are just that, donation. So if you're trying to get your book on shelves, don't fall into that pit of being tempted to just donate your book and hoping it gets on shelves. It rarely does. Oh, you're welcome, Patricia. Keep you around. You're so nice. Let's see here. I know we've got another question. Okay, again, we have a question about, we've got a question here about using different things. Lulu Express through Shopify is another way to sell books directly on your website, and that's being used a lot through children's books. So that's another option. And yes, if it works for you, if you're selling books on your website, it's great. Again, I would not make that the only way to sell your books. I think it's great to use things like that in addition to Ingram Spark and KDP. We have a question here from Cheryl, and Cheryl is saying, who do I contact or at a hospital or a hotel to get my books carried there or featured there? So if you are looking for a hotel, you generally, I believe, would have to go through the management. Obviously, makes sense. There is also a wonderful woman. Her name is Jane Ubell. I'm sorry, that's her. It's Jane Ubell's her maiden name, and I know her dad too. She's gonna kill me. I can't believe I'm doing this. Jane Ubell Meyer. Sorry, Jane, but Jane Ubell Meyer is known for her bedside reading program, and it is a program where she actually features books to hotels, where she will have copies put into hotels so that the guests can read them and experience them and take them home, and that can be a great marketing thing to do. So if you are specifically looking for your book to get into hotels for some reason, check Jane out, Jane Ubell Meyer, Bedside Reading. We love her. Thank you, Tara. That's fabulous. She just put the website up, which is bedsidereading.com. And then if you were looking to get into hospitals in particular, I would not be looking just for hospital sales. I would be looking for gift shops, because most of the stores that are in gift shops, I've just twisted my tongue. Most of the stores that are in hospitals are actually gift shops. They are not run independently by the hospital. They are run by a gift shop company. So if you're doing that, I would recommend that you look directly at the gift shops. Lori's Gifts is a really big one that is running a lot of the gift shops and hospitals. So Lori's Gifts, I know that they have an application on their website, and that's where I would be looking. I wouldn't necessarily be going hospital by hospital trying to get them to carry my book. Go directly to the gift shops and you will get much further than if you're talking to reception or something like that. Museum gift shops, they usually do purchase directly. So I would go directly to a museum if you're trying to get into a museum gift shop. Although, again, many gift shops are run by these big companies, so check them out. I think there's 2 or 3 big gift shops that you can apply to. You apply into one place, and then if they carry your book, they have like 540 locations. So again, it's competitive, but if you can get in, there's great options within those big gift shop companies. We've got Miss Denise here. Oh, I love that. Denise is asking, is there a way that we can create some sort of list where the authors who are on Free Advice Friday and that are participating could actually read each other's books and learn about each other? I love that. Again, making connections. We did this last week. So let's take this right on over to the Free Advice Friday Facebook group again. We will love that, Deb, too. So I will make a post in the Free Advice Friday group today, and I will have or maybe I'll do a couple posts, I'll think about it, where it is a drop your book information, tell us about you, and then go find someone to make friends with. I love that idea, Denise. So I will work on that. Check out the Free Advice Fridays Facebook group for that, because I think that's going to be the best platform. Once again, David wants friends. See, Ann Park loves it too. I love it too because I like looking at all of your books. I know that we talk to so many authors and that sometimes it may seem that I or Amy or our team doesn't look at your books, but I can't tell you how many times we are actually going to look at your books online. We're like, oh, I love this person's cover. This sounds like a good story. So I love that you guys want to share, and we'll get that going in the Facebook group. All right. Any idea how I can get my iodine health-oriented book into Whole Foods? If you're going to Whole Foods, you need to go see who their distributor is. So that's where you have to start. Is Whole Foods probably has their own kind of distribution options. So you need to find out where they're buying wholesale from. Wegmans is another one that has a popular health food section within a grocery store, Trader Joe's. You have to actually go to their websites and find out how they're getting their books for distribution and to sell out. So you need to find out that and then go and aggressively see if you can apply that way. And you may just have to go straight to the buyers. Local is usually the best. If you know a store specifically you want to get your book into, you will have so much more success if you email or you contact or you call, whatever, a local store and ask if they would be willing to test your book on their shelves. Do your homework, find out where they buy their books from, make sure your book's available there, but go to one store and say, will you test my book? If it does well, they will be telling everybody else, and then you'll slowly start to get more exposure. That's what we've done with Barnes & Noble with amazing success. But if you just go in and say, I want my book at all the Whole Foods, all of them, no big deal, you will probably get shot down really quickly. So start with one, have them test it out, try it out, and then see how it goes from there. And if you make friends within one store, that can often parlay into them saying nice things about you to their store down the street, and then so on and so forth. So make friends wherever you're trying to sell books, and make friends with other authors. We've learned friends are good. How can indie authors get into airport bookshops like Hudson News? Annette, I generally, the way that you do that is you're getting into the right distributor. I will say right now, I would not bother contacting any airport stores right now. There are big airport stores that have been around for a really long time that are closing down. There are bookshops that are closing down within airport stores. They are just struggling right now, so it's not a good time. Later on, when things pick back up, I would say you have to go and find their distributor, find where they are buying their books from. Generally, again, you have to have proof of need and sales. They're not going to take anybody. You have to show them that you've had thousands of sales within a year. You have to show that there's a need and a want for your book. So make a strong marketing plan and track those sales before you go into any type of big box store, airport stores, Costco, Walmart, all of those. They want to know that when they're taking a chance on you, it's a good risk. It's a good opportunity, and they're not just putting their neck out there to use their limited space for someone who's just wants to be in a store but doesn't necessarily have the proof in the sales. Linnea is saying Amazon owns Whole Foods. Does that make a difference in the approach? Same thing. I would still say you need to go directly to Whole Foods because that's a little bit like saying, well, Facebook owns Ingram, so I have a problem on or not Ingram. Facebook owns Instagram, so I'm going to go to Facebook support for my Instagram problem. It doesn't really work like that. They'll say, oh, well, you need to call this number at 555-5555. So go directly to Whole Foods first. And it may impact how they do business. It may impact how they take books, but you still have to go to the source to start. Alan saying he also makes a great friend, and I will agree. Alan, you make a fantastic friend, and you've got all the books. You've got horror and romance. So let me see. I know we've got one. You guys are cracking me up. David has dimples. It's matches made in heaven, apparently. All right, and we got one question this morning from Kate Lloyd, and Kate saying her new book releases on August 11th. Congratulations. It's called Stage Fright. Any advice? I'm planning to Facebook Live, have a 100 Kindle Goodreads giveaway starting Sunday. Newsletter's not a great option. We'll announce everything on the blog, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Anything else I'm missing? Kate, it sounds like you're really doing a great job of kind of making a splash when you come onto the scene. I would say when your book goes live, make sure just to tell people about it and then give them time to order, give them a week or so, and then pop back up with thank you for your support. Thank you for everyone who has bought the book, who has shown up for me, shared a post, liked a post. I appreciate you. Now, if you have read the book and you enjoyed it, will you please go leave a review online? So don't be afraid to follow up with that because you're going to get a nice bulk of sales in the beginning usually when people are going out to support you. Make sure you also follow up and ask them for reviews because reviews are gold online. So don't be afraid to do that. And I like your cover. Good job. Let me see. All right, you guys, I'm all through my emailed questions, I believe. If you have any more questions, drop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them. I can go over, I'm going to check on Facebook as well. And we will, so we are going to go over to the Free Advice Fridays Facebook group for our connections. We're going to have a book post where you can talk about your book and meet other authors on Free Advice Fridays Facebook group. And I will also post a list of reviewers that I know right now are taking e-submissions. So we've got things happening over in the Facebook group. Make sure that if you're not a member, you hop on over there and that you join us. I'm struggling. All right. And Patty over on Facebook is saying that the local library now has its own publishing entity. It sounds to me like it is basically self-publishing, but I would like to get my book into the library right away and have an author signing. Probably get the book into local bookstores. On the other hand, I would prefer not to self-publish. I am wondering what thoughts you have about these types of library publishing outlets. Well, Patty, that is new to me. I've not heard of a library actually publishing books. However, just because it's an indie publisher does not mean it's a bad publisher. If they are doing things well, I think, hey, check it out. I'm guessing that they're either charging to publish or that they are taking submissions. If they are publishing and they're publishing professionally and well, I see no problem with that. But make sure that you're looking at it that way objectively, not just, I want to get into this library, but will this be an overall great move for me in my writing career as an author? All right, what is the best way how to use Instagram? Patricia, it to me is easiest if I go to YouTube because I am a visual learner. So if you want to learn how to use Instagram, go over to YouTube and search videos, Instagram for beginners, Instagram hacks, how to use an Instagram feature. And that's what I do. And then get yourself an account and just try. I always say, Well, things live forever on the internet. You can also delete things when it's just silly and you mess up. So I wouldn't go doing anything crazy for a trial on Instagram. But if you put up a post and you realize that you messed it up, you tried to do a live and you posted to your feed or something like that, it's no big deal. So get on YouTube, watch some videos of how people are using it, and then go and try it out for yourself. Don't be afraid to try. It's not people are very accepting and forgiving when you put yourself out there and you try. But if you don't try, you're totally missing out on opportunities. All right. If someone says our terms are net 60% to a vendor, how is that actually calculated? So net means that after your printing cost, it's net 60%. So just like a paycheck, if you're getting your gross pay, and let's say you get paid $10 an hour, you get gross pay and you work 10 hours. Your gross pay is $100. But then your net pay after taxes and all of that ends up being 40% less. So instead of $100, your net pay is $60. Your gross pay is $100. Same thing happens. If their terms are net 60, then that means after your print cost, after all of the initial costs go through, their net is 60% from the overall profit. So you would get 40, they would get 60. And that's from Lori's gift website. Yep, which is very standard, very, very standard. Yes, Linda's asking, can you have two Instagram accounts on one cell phone account and number? You sure can. So Instagram, since we're here, why not? Instagram, you can actually have multiple accounts under one, and you can also have separate accounts all on the same phone. My phone right here, you guys, I have almost embarrassing. I have my own Instagram account that I post food pictures of my dog and our camping trip. Then I also have the New Shelves Instagram. I have the Breathe Books Instagram, which is our review page. If you've never checked it out, check it out, Breathe Books on Facebook and Instagram. I have a friend's Instagram account because they asked me for help with something and I just haven't removed it yet. You can have multiple Instagram accounts and it's just in a drop down and you can go back and forth between them. Totally possible. You can do it. If you are easily confused by that, I would recommend taking off and only having one at a time though. All right, and Annette is asking, how can an author purchase ISBNs from Bowker if they live in another country but are publishing through KDP in the US? Annette, I would first say that person needs to check their country for their requirements for ISBNs. For example, Canada gives their residents ISBNs. They don't have to purchase them, they just have to submit for them. So that person needs to go and check it out there. If they are then purchasing in the US for some reason, I believe you just set it up as a Bowker account the same exact way. But you need to first check your own country for publication. Now, if I'm assuming if they're buying their own ISBNs, then the author is also the publisher. So if they're publishing in their own country, it may be different. I know for sure Canada gives their residents their own ISBNs. They don't have to be purchased. And in the US, we buy from Bowker. Yeah, I like Erica going back to Instagram. Erica saying, just be sure to post to the right one. Been there, done that, Erica. It was awesome. It was hilarious. Not really, but yes, if you have multiple Instagram accounts, make sure you post to the right one. So let me see. Yep, see, Erica's saying she has two. So learn from our mistakes, laugh at us just a little bit, and then learn from our mistakes. And I think this is good anywhere. If you have business or author social media, be careful what you're posting and where you're posting it. Because while you may find this meme hilariously funny on your personal page, it could alienate readers on a public page. For example, I recently totally jokingly, said my two kids were up for adoption to a homeschool family. We all know that school stuff is crazy with COVID right now, and I jokingly said it. Well, I put it on a public page, and I actually got someone saying it was horrible that I would sell or adopt out my children because of school. So you do have to be careful what you put on your public profile when it's going out as your business or author brand, and make sure you can stand behind it. All right, I think we've actually got through all our questions, you guys. It's right at 11 o'clock. So again, we're going to go right on over to our Facebook group. We're going to get some connection posts up there so that you guys can tell us about your books and that we can connect and you guys can read each other's books. We are also going to put up a reviewer list. I would love if you guys go over to freeadvicefridays.com with an S at the end, freeadvicefridays.com. Follow us on YouTube. We are, as I've mentioned, we have some special guests coming up. And if you aren't on our YouTube channel, when we put those special surprise videos up and interviews up, you will not get notified. So go subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss those. We are finding some great guests that just can't make it on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to pre-record and put those up kind of spontaneously. So make sure you're following our YouTube, follow us and join us in the Facebook chat. And I think we'll be good. Linda says she's subscribed to our YouTube channel about 5 times. So great. That means you just love us 5 times as much. So great, you guys. Don't forget, if you have questions and you won't be able to make it next week, email us at questions@freeadvicefridays.com. And also, if you have questions for a author podcaster who is amazing, email those in. He's one of our special guests that we will have to pre-record. So make sure you send those in. Also, Annalisa Parent is going to be on in 2 weeks. So if you have questions for her, then absolutely make sure that you email those in at questions@freeadvicefridays.com. We would love to have those. And again, Annalisa will be live on August 14th, and she owns and operates Date with the Muse. So make sure you check out her site, see what she's all about, and send us in questions for Annalisa. And we will be back next week, next Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining us. I'm Keri Barnum for New Shelves Books, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.